Greetings, everyone. It's Grandmaster Fit here once again in The Witcher 3, and we're going to take a look at Mont Crane Castle. We're in, forgot the place. I feel really silly. I should remember this. Toussaint. There we go. So we're in the area of Toussaint, which was added with the Blood and Wine DLC. And we're going to take a quick look here at Mont Crane. So we start here at the crossroads. The castle does dominate two main roads here, leading to various places around the map. There's some outer buildings here, which I think are related to this castle. Not entirely sure. They're not directly connected in any way, so could be, could have been, not entirely sure. But for sure, we start at the bridge. So there was a stone bridge here. Obviously, that has collapsed at some point. There are, for some reason, crenellations on this bridge. Not entirely sure why. They have eroded quite significantly. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of gatehouse or anything here, so not entirely sure why they added the crenellations. And there's also some on the roadsides. Again, not sure exactly why. Now we have a wall here, which extends over here. This obviously was added later. This little bridge from the flowing river. That would be a bit of a weakness in the wall, so we're just going to assume that wasn't there to begin with. Now, this is the outer wall here. I do like that it has crenellations on both sides, though I'm not entirely sure why, being as how you can just hop over. So this wall really doesn't serve a lot of purpose once they get past the bridge. Once they get across the bridge, this wall has lost its defensive function because there's nothing here. If the wall maybe went this way, like it does look like it, maybe it went this way and there was a gatehouse here to connect over to these walls that are over here, then I could see it being useful. But the way it's set up, then these walls don't have a huge amount of function, and they're just too short. They're in the ground. If they were several feet in the air, maybe 10 feet in the air, then that would be fine, because then you could just retreat and close this off. Obviously, this was a tower, would just bar this door and head back into the main keep. And you could also bar this tower as you retreat. So that this would have led into this tower, which leads up to the upper bailey. But we'll head back to the main entrance again. Oh, look at these crenellations. Well, more on that later. But quick thing about these towers. Once again, these towers a little too thin. So they're only shoulder width wide or so, not nearly thick enough to withstand any sort of real bombardment. The walls should be, on those, should be the same thickness as this wall is, which is about a 2-man's thickness, which is still pretty thin, 4 or 5 feet, but a much more significant defense. Okay, so we'll head back to the road. So there's the kind of outer defenses, which brings us to the main first set of defenses. Now there's a tower here, or the remains of a tower here, so I think the gatehouse might have been right about here, because there's a portcullis that's laying off to the side here, and there's no place for it to go here in this gate. So that makes me think that there was a the gatehouse was here, about right here where these guys are standing would be the gatehouse, is just what I'm guessing, kind of based off the fortification. The stone work comes out, it could be all the way as far as up here, but that would render this arrow loop. The arrow loot. You guys can figure that out. This arrow loop would be pretty useless if the gatehouse was all the way up here. So that would be, I'm just, again, I'm speculating here that it's about right here would have been the gatehouse connecting to the main keep, or the main wall. With this tower, if that is true, then this looks like it was a door or window, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But this arrow loop would be perfectly placed to shoot at attackers while they are trying to batter down the portcullis. So that's just my guess based on kind of the evidence I can see here. This outer wall does extend over here to add some more towers and such that are well collapsed. So I'm not sure why that was there. It doesn't seem to connect. There's no stonework to connect it to the wall, so I'm not exactly sure what the point of it was. Maybe you guys can put some suggestions in the comments for some food for thought. So yeah, there's more collapsed masonry. So for here. But if that wall were taller out there, great, because this would be a nice outer lower bailey, and then that would break up the castle into more parts. So we go through what is now the main gate. There are no murder holes, there's no portcullises, and no gates. So as of right now, this isn't a very effective gateway. But there are some fallen masonry, I'm just going to guess. Those could be murder holes, I guess. But I'm just going to guess that they're more likely to just be some fallen stone out of the work here. But look how thick. See, the walls should be this thick. Like, this is a proper thick wall right here. Harvest that real quick. So I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is a wall that's not going to get battered down easily. So that leads us into what is now essentially, I guess, secondary bailey. I'm just going to call it the lower bailey for now. So there's, the walls. There's a corner tower, and then that leads up to those outer walls that we were walking on earlier. That's the collapsed masonry. There were some buildings here, obviously, at one point. There's still some shacks that are here, and then this door was hidden by an illusion to when we first arrive at the castle, when you first come here. So this used to be a fake magic pile of rubble, but obviously it was from that fallen bit of wall. It leads us to some underground storage and some various rooms and whatnot. We don't really need to explore down here. It's really just a bunch of storage, which is great. It gives the castle plenty of storage space to withstand sieges. Water, food, ammunition, and all that fun stuff can be stored down here quite easily. I don't like that it's very easy to get here. There's only a single door. So a bit of a problem, because, again, these walls are quite thin. So, but you're just going to batter down the door, and you're going to be in. So you're going to have to barricade that off, and if you don't, they're going to get into all your supplies, which is kind of a problem. So we've got these stairs up here that lead into a tower, which, again, kind of the problem that all the towers in this game have is they are very thin and would not really protect against any sort of sustained siege equipment fire. But the cool thing is that this front room here is being used by the armorer as his main area, and then there's the storage here, and we can see the remains of the second floor, which we will go up to in a second. There's this stone floor, and there's a bit of it over there. So that can't be like that. You couldn't have a stone floor that goes from there to there unsupported. There's just, I don't think it's possible, and that would be wood. Like, if there were some holes for some wooden supports, you just have a nice wood floor to make a second floor. So it's a nice storage room. So a good use of a good look of how a tower is actually going to be used. Now there's this part here, which doesn't really seem to serve much of a purpose. There's a guard standing up here usually, but if they've made it this far, you don't want to be up here because you can't retreat. Because they can just run up the stairs and get you, and there's nowhere for you. I guess you could jump down, but either way, you're kind of screwed if you're up here. This isn't really a good spot. I'm not exactly sure what this was originally intended for, but it doesn't really do you much good. But we will use this to get on top of the main wall here, which is the only use I have for it. So now we're up on top of this wall here. Again, nice thick wall. It's good. If all the walls were this thick, that would be great. And we see some more of these crenellations. And for once, they're actually a decent height. There aren't... where's the full... Oh, if we go over here, there's the full... what they seem to have originally been built to as height-wise. And look how tall these things are. They're over Geralt's head, and he's standing on some rubble. These things are huge. So that's actually amazing, because crenellations are supposed to be head height, so that when you're behind them, you are safe from bows and slings and all that fun stuff that they're trying to shoot you with, and then you can pop out, shoot at somebody, and then jump back. So you can deliver fire from, a good measure of safety. Now, something I wanted to point out over here is these overhangs. Now, in the state they are, this is actually historical. There are castles that have these stone overhangs that are purely decorative, as is the case here. Now, what these are really should be are matriculations, which is essentially hoardings that are built into the tower. Now, hoardings were originally wooden constructs you would attach to the front of the wall here, so you would make them so they overhang, so that you can walk out over, essentially, in front of the wall, and then be able to shoot down directly on top of the wall. Because, as you can easily guess, that with the matriculations, there is a blind spot in where you can shoot. Especially these ones are the crenels here are quite tall. So there is there's that blind spot. So hoardings you would add to the front, and they are temporary wooden structures. Now, later on, they added them in stone, which essentially is matriculations. So there should be, these crenellations should be pushed out a foot or so, and there should essentially be a gap here along this edge, a hole that you can shoot down or throw rocks down or dump boiling water or hot sand or whatever onto people who have made it to the base of the wall. So it allows them to have no safe spots that they can be free from being attacked. So this is the gatehouse, kind of the main bailey here, the lower courtyard. This part of the wall has obviously collapsed. There's a few more buildings right at this base of this wall. Could have been a tower. Seems kind of unlikely. Not entirely sure. So we'll get around this giant ballista here, hogging up the courtyard. We can rant about that later. There's a nice just little storage here, where they've little just wooden shack. Now this is other towers being used as kind of a stable, which is great, and this also shows what designers thought of this floor, and that's not, no, that's just not gonna work. So, and there's a framework that would have been originally for the rest of the tower, I assume. Though again, how that's hanging there unsupported, we're just, nobody tell physics, it'll be fine. So, the only way to access the upper courtyard is either through this underground passage, you can go up there, or there's these steps, which makes no sense. There's no doorway here, there's no tower. Like, if this, it's just so exposed that once you lose the gate, then they have free reign. They're just gonna run up this set of stairs, and they're up in the upper courtyard. There's no place for doors, for gateways, or anything. There's no limited access to this upper courtyard. So there's a huge defensive problem with this castle right there. So, right, and here is the second floor of that tower. And then there's the roof that we cannot get to. So this is actually good right here, because this would be a great spot. You could have some arrow loops here in this wall and just attack people as they come into the lower courtyard. So this is a nice feature. I like that. But again, there's this huge staircase. It does appear that this wall was taller originally. And also like that this is built on dirt, so these stone steps would be perfectly supported. So that's fine. Like, the stone steps themselves are fine. But this is such a huge weakness in this castle. The enemy can just waltz right up, you know? So there needs to be something here. Better if you had a double kind of door. You could have one at the bottom and then one at the top. Maybe a floor kind of here that runs straight across, or some sort of second floor that you could get to you know, drop stuff on people that are on the stairs. But just not a great defensive feature right here. But this does lead us into the upper courtyard, which would have had you know, obviously some buildings here, and it also leads us to the main keep. But we'll go look there in a second and kind of work our way to the top. There's a good number of towers. Got one there, and then there's one there, and then there's one here. So this is the ground floor of this tower. The second floor is missing, but we can go to the top of this one, and we can kind of see what view it commands. A lot of this is collapsed. I'm not sure how this staircase is magically supported, but again, we're just not going to ask questions. And again, this floor would not be stone. This would have collapsed when they first built it. Now, I'm not sure if this floor is supposed to be raised, because these are worthless. Because there's a little ledge right there. Maybe that's where the floor was originally. But these crenellations are too tall. How in the world are you supposed to shoot? You can't use a bow. Like, maybe you could use a crossbow. Just kind of set it on top. Almost jumped off. Set it on top of the wall and use that. But the way they are, they're not very useful. But look at this dominating terrain this castle is situated on. It's on top of a rocky outcropping. You can walk up this backside here. There's a path. But there's no way you're going to roll up towers onto this side on the keep or this side over here. There's just... It's on a huge rocky outcropping. Let's see if we can jump over there. Yes! And maybe if we... Ooh, don't jump off, Geralt. So there's not a lot of ways to assault this castle, which is... its position is great. No jumping off, Geralt. So... It's situated very well for defense against siege equipment. Anyone who's setting up trebuchets or ballistas is going to have to be way out there in the forest. And rolling up siege towers is not something that's going to be easily done. Especially, you know, you got stuff like this. There's just no way you're going to get a siege tower to the walls. So it's a good position, you know, which is nice. So there's this, that's this tower. I also like that there's actually a farm near here, so it's actually kind of supported. I'm not sure that the farm is built at the same time, but you know, there's a farm over there to support the castle. So, and as usual, these walls are way too thin, but you know, we've mentioned that several times, so we'll not beat that dead horse anymore. It's nice that they actually include the well. So it's boarded up and filled in, but there is a well in this castle. It should have a cover built over it, though there doesn't seem to be any sort of in place stone or that would imply that there was a covering on it. But you would want a covering on this, obviously, so that the enemy cannot try and poison your water by flinging a corpse into it, so as to stagnate and, you know, get rid of your water. All right, so we'll head into the main keep now. It's a very Norman-style square keep. It's not really rectangular. It's a square keep with square towers at the corners. Very Norman style. Very popular in the 11th and into the 12th century. Dover is a great example of a kind of quintessential Norman square keep, even though it's technically a rectangle. But here we have this obviously. I'm guessing this wasn't the door, though it does actually kind of seem like it because the path is beaten right to it, and there's no other way that I can find that it seems to be a door. So this leads us into our main hall. There's no slots that I can see for sort of floor or anything here, though it does appear that there should be some holes on the wall there to indicate where posts were put in. And then we see kind of more of this wall. Again, this is a very thin wall. Like these inner walls, this is fine. Like this is just an inner wall, doesn't need to be thick. This wall needs to be thick. Though maybe not this one so much, just because it's facing the inside of the court. yard, and this would be a great place for a window because it's facing the inner courtyard where you're not likely to be attacked. So here we go inside again. Kind of go up these stairs.
A storm, damn it.
Yes, Geralt, it's raining. We know. And look at this vaulted ceiling right here. This is great. That's how you can keep that stone floor above. The ceilings are vaulted to take the weight of the stone floor above it. Now, of course, it's mostly gone and wood now, but, you know, whatever. So there's several rooms in here. You can go out over here. There doesn't seem to be any original steps. I couldn't find anything that was spiral staircases that were originally built in here. But now there's just ladders. And as of right now, this is pretty much worthless as a defensive structure. And see, those are the posts I'm talking about right there. That would be where the support is for like the second floor. So the second floor obviously rests on top here, and there would have been a second floor above there. So this is another way, just another wall here. Nice rooms. Plenty of rooms. It's subdivided that we can see that definitely a lot more rooms than there currently are in the castle. Oh, there they are. There might be how we get up. That's probably some spiral staircases in the tower, which is an efficient use of space. That's why there wouldn't be staircases in the center. Much easier to defend. And again, we see a lot of, we can imagine where there were rooms. Can imagine this was roomed off with a door, and then, you know, across this way and here. Lots of subdivision to make most use of the space for the Lord and his residents and any guests he would have. So we can see about 3, maybe even 4 floors. This keep is quite tall. A lot of subdivision. So we're looking 3 or 4 floors here. And then we can actually keep going up into what almost seems like a 5th floor, but then we're out on the roof. So we go up here onto the roof, and this stone is probably not capable. I don't see any vaulted ceilings if we go back down here. Oh, no, still vaulted. Maybe, but I kind of doubt it. Maybe someone with a bit more engineering experience could tell me for sure if that is possible or not, but I just don't feel that it is. It seems like it would be far too heavy for the amount of weight he's carrying. But this is mostly wood now, so should be safe, right? I mean, it's only slightly mildewy wood. And that's pretty much all of Mont Crane Castle. It's probably Mount Crow, isn't it? I've been saying Cron. No, Mont Crane Castle. Apologies. So that's pretty much it for Mont Crane Castle. All in all, not too shabby as video game fortifications go. It's certainly seen better days, and the tower's walls are quite thin, as is the keep walls. But the main walls have significant thickness. There are the overhangs on the tower. It's also on at least that wall right there. I couldn't see them on the other ones. But there are slots that could be matriculations, but they are just decorative in this case. The crenellations are, when they were originally built, great, perfectly height, a little bit too tall. So plenty of space to defend from, which is great. And the only major weaknesses are really the thinness of the walls and the just the lack of defenses on the main gate. Or not the well, the main gate obviously isn't very well defended now because it has no gate. And then from the upper courtyard and the lower courtyard, it's just once you lose that main gate, the way it's currently built, you've essentially lost everything but the keep. So this is a huge fatal weakness in this castle. Once you breach that gate, you've essentially captured 2/3 of the castle. Since there's no defenses here, you're gonna stack up guys here to defend the top, but there's only so much they can do. You're gonna build barricades and whatnot. But then there's this underground passage leads directly to your storage. I don't think I would have this door here, to be honest. Just is a huge flaw. It's just waiting to be exploited. But it is lots of space that they built under here, which is awesome. So Mont Crane Castle, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but not the worst castle I've ever seen. in video games. So, oh wait, I thought it maybe doesn't lead up. I thought it did. So even then, I retract my statement. This is not a huge weakness, but then again, if you can't reach it from up top, then how are you supposed to use it? Torch. Because if there's no way to reach the top, well, maybe this led up top at one point. Can't really tell from the floor plan. Let's see, that just leads to a research lab. And yes, I think we just went full circle back to where we were. Yes. Okay, so this does not lead up top, so that's not as huge a weakness as I thought. But there's nothing stopping them from just running up these steps if you're not prepared for it. If you're not just already falling back, then you're kind of in trouble. The only other real flaw is that there's no crenellations on the inside of these outer walls, which when they were originally connected would be a great thing because you could just fire down on them while they were coming into here. So a few weaknesses, but all in all, not a bad castle. Sad that it's really the only one in this area, but it's definitely not bad. Not too bad at all. But that's just my take on this castle, guys. So what do you guys think? Mont Crane, a worthless fortification, just past its prime, or something that would actually have done well in a siege in its former glory? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will try to do more castle reviews. I like just kind of walking around and talking about them. It's a lot of fun. Get to nerd out on castles and take a look at them kind of critically. But it's nice. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you'll always know when another video goes up. Be sure to leave your comments, what you think, what you like, what you don't like. If you think I'm full of hogwash, let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk some castles. Let's talk history and all that fun stuff, guys. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. So Grandmaster Fett is signing off for now.